also, although, of course, I'm going to talk to you about what we're going to do in what we can do in our localities, the 6 London boroughs, it's important to remember that what we're doing. It's important to remember that what we're that what we're doing is part of a global campaign and a global movement. And we're doing this not just across London, but we're doing it across the UK, Europe, and the rest of the world. The second thing I want to say, there are a lot of campaigns that demand our interest or our time, or people say to us we should get involved in. Myself, just speaking for myself personally, I hate going on suicide missions, where someone stands up and says, look, this is the next campaign we've got to do, and actually, in a sense, you know, it's not been thought out, or it's not been well researched, or the tactics and strategy aren't worked out. I think the difference about the Veolia campaign, as well as other key targets of the BDS campaign, the Veolia campaign is not a suicide mission, it's far from it. It's very well researched. I mean, you've heard speakers Michael and Simon talk about what's actually, in terms of, we know what's happening in terms of what Veolia is doing on the ground. We know the legal analysis. The legal analysis has been done over and over again. The publicity materials, you have, I think, some copies of that already on your chair, the postcards, the posters, the banners. So a lot of the publicity materials and thinking has already been done. And I think what we now need to do, and what we're trying to do across the 6 London boroughs, is to say, how can we apply that in a way which is something that we can tap into in terms of where we actually live. And the key issue we're facing is that across the 6 London boroughs, that's Ealing, Harrow, Brent, Richmond, Hillingdon and Hounslow, those councils have formed something called the West London Waste Authority. And that authority has asked for bids for a contract worth up to £485 million for residual domestic waste. So this is the waste that gets left over after recycling and whatever. And what we have done is to learn from the experiences of activists in other parts of the country and other parts of the world. And we formed a steering group of people from each of the London boroughs. And we've tried to work out how we go about this. So the first thing that we've done is a letter has now gone to the West London Waste Authority, signed by 576 people from the 6 London boroughs. We check the postcode, we check the names to make sure they live in those London boroughs. But in terms of the West London Waste Authority, that is a lot of people, they have not had many letters on the issue of residual domestic waste. And 576 people who have actually all looked at the letter before they signed it. We didn't just stand outside corner shops asking people to sign a 2-line petition. We actually gave them a letter and said, would you put your name to this, would you put your postcode to this, and would you put your borough to this? So the campaign has already kicked off. The WLWA is well aware that there is a lot of local interest in this issue. Second thing we've done is we've already met with the West London Waste Authority and put our arguments across, and we were lucky enough to have Daniel McAver, who's a leading international human rights lawyer with us, and who's also a resident of Brent, explain to the WLWA why we believe that they should exercise their discretion, which they do have under local government regulations, to exclude Veolia on the grounds of great misconduct. And that was a very interesting meeting, and there was a good interchange, and they did ask us questions about the legal analysis and why we thought that Veolia could be excluded, and they asked us questions about Veolia and the answer. What is interesting from a tactical point of view, although our letter is absolutely concerned with what Veolia is doing in the occupied territories, there's 2 things when we looked in the faces of the people we were talking to in the West London Waste Authority. The 2 things that really hit home were the fact that Veolia operates essentially apartheid bus routes. So buses which Palestinians are not permitted either, as a matter of fact, to travel on. That hit home. Because we made the point that the 6 London boroughs that we're talking about are successful multicultural boroughs. So how the hell can we have a company like Veolia which says one group of people can travel on a bus and another people can't on racial grounds or ethnic grounds? how can that company be allowed to be in the bidding process? And the second thing which really hit home, which is also covered in our letter, is that Veolia actually placed an advert for train operators for the Jerusalem Light Railway, which is blatantly racist. I mean, it asked for Hebrew to mother tongue standard and a record of military service. Well, there's two things. They could have asked for Hebrew to a standard sufficient to drive a train, but no, it had to be mother tongue standard. Not content with that, which obviously is going to rule out a vast section of Palestinian citizens of Israel, the requirement for military service, as we know, Palestinian citizens of Israel are not qualified to do military service. So they might as well just put an advert saying Veolia wants operatives for the Jerusalem Light Railway, Arabs need not apply. And what I'm going to say is that, of course, we are focusing in on all the things that Simon has covered, but we're also focusing in on those two things with the councillors as well, because that is the way to get them engaged, and then, of course, we're talking to them about human rights issues. So, the letter we're sending is very carefully worded. It's been looked at by the lawyers. We're not asking the West London Waste Authority to do anything which would be illegal or ultra vires. We're giving them the route map by which they can legally make a decision to exercise their discretion to exclude Veolia from the process. We've reached a stage where we've sent in that letter, and this meeting is the first meeting. We're having it in Brent, but we will also hold meetings in West London, in Ealing and Richmond like this, because we now need your support and help to take the campaign forward. And there's a few things that we would really like people to think about and see if they could help us on. The first is, if you're a resident in one of the 6 London boroughs and you haven't signed that letter, then Liz is at the back, and I'm sure she'll be ready to take your name, postcode and borough. We need those 3 things, and if we can get more signatures, that will help. The other side of help that we really need is we need now to engage. We've focused on individuals. The next stage of our campaign is we want to focus on faith groups, trade union branches and political parties. We've already made some good headway on that. I think we're doing very good headway with the Greens, both here, I believe, in Brent and certainly in Ealing. But if there are people here who have contacts with faith groups, who they think would be willing to sign up to something which is all around human rights, it's about asking the council, the West London Waste Authority, to ensure that they take human rights considerations into account when they form their decision, then please do that. We're forming, we already have contact lists for that, but the more organisations from civil society that we can get in as broad as possible terms, the better. So that's certainly one thing that people could help with. The second thing we're going to ask people to do is, we've sent a letter to the West London Waste Authority, and we've sent it to the Director of the West London Waste Authority, their in-house legal counsel, and the members from each of the London boroughs who sit on the committee. The next stage we're going to do is we're going to ask the 576 signatories, and hopefully some more, if there are people here who haven't signed, to now send that letter to their own local councillor and ask to go and talk to their councillor to say, these are the issues, please read this letter, what are you going to do about it? Remember, councillors in the end rely on being elected. Actually, turnout at council elections is not that great. And so, when most people, don't notice in their councillor that much, I think. So this is a real opportunity to engage with a whole section of politicians, if you like, who we don't normally engage with. We try, of course, we always do lobbies of Parliament and whatever,